The next question is, what is the cost of the program? This is something that we touched on earlier. There is no out-of-pocket cost to the city. There's no money paid to OptiTraffic whatsoever. The way that OptiTraffic is paid is they take 40% of the citations that are paid by the vehicle owners. So they get 40% of that fee, and the city gets 60%. That's, if you want to call it the cost, that's the cost of the program. This is a blank card. Why aren't there cameras on the west side? This is something we touched on previously as well.
We did, but as we were talking before, and I see Tim Murphy from the Friends of Block Watch there, when we were talking about other cameras, we regularly get requests from residents for, whether through a Block Watch program or whether through just citizen complaints, for special attentions to certain streets throughout the community. Look, the reality of our situation here in the city, it's not a secret. I mean, we're in fiscal watch, trying to stay out of fiscal emergency. Resources are low. These cameras, whether you like them or not, actually they do a couple of things. First, they slow people down, okay, and they provide a service to us as a police department from an enforcement aspect by stopping the behavior that you call us about to address. If we have cameras we can move, and Tim will verify this, on East 141st Street, we've put up a speed measuring device that we get from our partnership with University Hospitals and the Click It or Ticket program. I mean, some of the speeds on that road are horrendous. If we were to expand the program further, and I don't know where it's going to go, certainly other tickets, another location on the west side that came to mind, in addition to Rockside, would be East 141st Street. Those of you who are longtime residents or worked in the area for a long time, you know that for a while there we had stop signs spread periodically all the way down that street. Okay, but we had to remove them because they were in violation of the state law. We actually got taken to court, fought, and it went up into courts of appeals and everything. I can't give you specific dates, but we had to remove those signs. Since then, that place can be a freeway. So if you're asking me why aren't there more cameras on the west side, the reason there are not more cameras on the west side now is because at the beginning of the program we didn't know what we were going to be dealing with on a volume level, and as we move forward, if it continues, if they stay legal, you will see cameras on the west side, and you'll probably see cameras that will move. But for right now, this is what was agreed upon, and this is what we're going to do.
Thanks, Chief. This next question, we have how many cameras total? How many cameras total do we have, Chief?
Currently, we have, no, I've got to count, 4. There's two on Warrensville Center and 2 on Broadway. So there's a total of 4. When we get the cameras for the school zones, I anticipate that to be another 2 to 3. It depends on Dunham Road. For those of you who live in the area during school, we're not quite certain whether the one lane leading into the school is actually going to need traffic enforcement in terms of speed, because usually we can't get the traffic moving into the school or moving out of it. The speed isn't an issue, getting them in and out of the parking lot is. However, that other lane of traffic, it goes pretty quickly. And some of you may know, or may not know, that one of our auxiliary officers was actually hit by a car in a school zone last year, pretty seriously injured. So we're pretty much on board in getting those there. So that would bring our total up to anywhere from 7 to 8.
The important thing to note, I think, that both the councilman and chief, it's really less about the number of cameras and more about the points, the checkpoints. So even though you have 4 cameras, you really have 2 spots in your community that are being monitored.
That's correct.
Yes, as we mentioned before, each camera can only monitor 2 lanes of traffic. So if there's 4 lanes, like there is on Broadway and Warrensville, then you need 2 cameras to monitor all 4 lanes, because each camera can only monitor 2. This is kind of a follow-up question. Where exactly are the cameras? They are on Broadway, Warrensville. On Broadway, they are south of Farmer Jones's. Or actually, one's right by Farmer Jones's.
I can give you specifically where they're at. One is in front of the VFW, okay, and one is on South Boulevard, across from South Boulevard, where, depending on your age, there's Siegler, Lucas Aerospace, or Jack and Heights was once located. The other cameras up on Warrensville Center, those are the ones that are almost directly across from each other. One is in front of Renee's Dance Studio, and the other one is situated right by Claire in front of Dollar Bank.
Why just recently a sign was posted that a camera photo enforced appeared today near cameras? I guess we touched on that because they were moved. In case you missed it, some of the signs needed to be moved so that they'd be within 300 feet of each of the cameras. So that's why a sign has seemed to appear today, as this person asked. So, yes, you waved your magic wand and they appeared. So why are there no cameras on Rockside and Libby, which we've touched on? Those weren't the places that were selected as the highest need.
It would be interesting, just to comment to that, obviously Rockside is something we talked about. Libby Road, that would actually be an interesting site for the cameras. However, because of the fact, and that would be something we'd have to discuss with OptiTraffic, the way that that area is set up, it may be hard for placement, because where would you put them short of blocking the sidewalk? People would not be able to walk across the bridge. But I'd be interested to, from a law enforcement standpoint, to just see what the speeds would be there and see if it would require that.
This next question is an interesting one. It says, there is a surveillance camera at Clare and Warrensville. Does this camera also monitor speeding? If people notice other cameras, should they be concerned?
No. Well, first off, it's a surveillance camera that has nothing to do with traffic enforcement or the speed cameras. A number of the businesses in there, because of issues that we've had up there, have a surveillance camera in their parking lot. If you go down to the nursing home, Sunrise Point down at the end, they have one monitoring their parking lot. I'm not sure specifically which one that question is asking about, but no, the locations we have given you tonight, those are the only speed enforcement cameras that they are. The other thing, just kind of a brief point, they are speed enforcement cameras. They are not red light cameras. A lot of times people refer to them as that. They're only measuring speed. We're not issuing any type of red light violations.
Thank you, Chief. How long will Maple keep the cameras? Mayor, how long do you plan to keep the cameras in Newburgh Heights?
As long as the state of Ohio says they're legal.
Okay, that's a pretty straightforward answer. I imagine it will be the same in Maple Heights, that there will always be people speeding. There will always be need for monitoring of it.
Well, as an example, I was kind of joking a little bit, but we have one camera that we've moved locations in the summer. During the school year, it's in front of our school zone, and the off year during summer, it's in front of our dog park in another area where there's a lot of pedestrian traffic. And people are slowing down in that area now. So what'll happen is we'll move it back to in front of the school zone, and people start slowing down there. And then when we move it back next summer, we're going to find the same thing happens. But even though we've had the cameras in force for a year, all of the signs are posted at the entrance to the community, and then within 300 feet of the units, we still are issuing 25 to 40 citations a day. So there are always going to be people that simply don't want to do the speed limit. And here's the thing. We're not saying that you can't speed. We're saying that you cannot speed excessively. So everybody's used to going 4, 5, 6 miles an hour with the speed limit. That, I think, by most law enforcement standards, is considered a reasonable speed. But when we hit double digits, the difference in an accident, for example, at 10 miles over the speed limit and 4, the rate of fatalities and those kind of things start to jump pretty exponentially. So we'll use these as a law enforcement tool, just like we use handheld LiDAR, because that was challenged, by the way, when that first came out. And radar and many of the new law enforcement tools are often challenged as unconstitutional. We'll continue to use them to make our streets safer.
These last 3 questions are all kind of summed up in this one. If Newburgh Heights is a model, why did Maple not take the same steps to notify Maple Heights residents? That is a good question.
That's right.
And frankly, I don't know how much conversation was had prior to this being passed with Newburgh Heights. I don't know, Chief, if you had had conversations prior.
I'll answer that in part. I mean, first off, is the police department, we were tasked with administering the program. And when I say that, we follow the requirements of the law in terms of notification, but as you listen to the mayor, I mean, all of us were involved in this together. The mayor, the city council, the entire city administration. It doesn't just fall to the police department. So in terms of the notification, I don't think, quite honestly, the way that when we first learned the program, that we knew exactly what we should do. We followed the requirements of the law and did that. But I can speak for myself. I was brought into this program very late. I was not, in terms of, they're having the meeting, they called me in to come to participate. Secondly, as the mayor spoken, I mean, I wasn't even aware that Newburgh Heights had traffic cameras until we were well involved into the program. It wasn't until it was suggested by a representative from OptiTraffic, for example, that we go to the hearings to see how they handle things. So if it could have been handled better from that way, we all bear responsibility. And certainly, had I known that there was some place to go, and other than what the directions we were getting from the company, the vendor that we contracted, we would have gone that route. But that's the best explanation that I can give you for that.
All I can say, honestly, is I'm sorry. That's all I can say. I wanted to have. I wish I would have had this meeting a month ago. I mean, that's all I can say. I wish that we would have had this meeting a month ago to discuss it, to let people know. I wish that we would have had more notification. That's really all that I can say. And I'm sorry for that, because I didn't, for myself, I didn't realize how little people knew about the way things worked. I was, like the chief was, skeptical of the program when it was first mentioned. We kind of looked at it leerily when the OptiTraffic representative came. But whenever we heard his presentation, how the program worked, what it did, what it cost, all the details, we realized, wow, this is you can't really beat this as far as it comes to the police department enforcing traffic laws. But I really had a disconnect with you in realizing that you were not aware of what I had seen, what had been brought to my attention. And I should have made more of an effort, to do that, and I apologize. But that is why we are here tonight, is to let everyone ask their questions, see what's happening, dispel some of the myths that are out there. But now everyone will have a better opportunity to make a good choice on whether you think these are good for the city or not. And I'm glad that we're having this meeting. And that's why I'm glad now to give you an opportunity with our last 15 minutes to ask any lingering questions or to make any brief comments that you may have regarding the traffic cameras. And I would ask that we have the mic here up front, so please come up so everyone can hear you. And if there's more than one person, you can form a line. And if you can't stand for a length of time and you want us to, you can stay seated, just raise your hand, okay? So please, ma'am, would you be the first to ask a question? Sorry, the mic is so high for you.
That's okay. My name is Angela Sanders, and I have several questions, but I'm gonna make them real quick. I want to know why the collections, if you're talking about a civil penalty with blocking driver license and tags, then why would you go to the necessary next step in saying it's going to go into collections and all of that? And then secondly, the grace period that Maple Heights did not allow the residents to experience, why was that? And then the calibration of the cameras, how often are they going to be checked?
Thank you, ma'am. Chief, would you comment on the calibration of the cameras?
As I explained earlier, the calibration is checked daily. It's an internal calibration check, and that's verified by the officers. I can tell you that in addition to that calibration yesterday, we actually had the OptiTraffic company come out and do a separate setup and accuracy verification testing of each and every camera on each and every site, and then each of the cameras passed. I have that information available, and I'll make sure to get it to someone, perhaps Mr. Brownlee or on the city site, to show that it's posted and eventually would like to look at it.
So the grace period, you mentioned the grace period. Frankly, I was not even aware of that until someone brought that to my attention. I just simply don't know what Cleveland is doing with their traffic program. I think that's a wonderful thing that Cleveland does. What we have done, though, what is done by I think at OptiTraffic's suggestion even, is that you limit the number of citations that people can receive, because that would be drastically unfair. If someone received a citation on Friday and they've been clocked 10 times all week and they didn't even know. So we don't want that to happen. The grace period, frankly, I wish I would have heard of it earlier. That sounds like a wonderful idea, but I wasn't aware of it. Can't speak for everyone else. Collections, this is just the way that these are handled. Mayor, would you briefly comment?
I can answer that question. I'm assuming you have a mayor's court here where you hear traffic. So, and you probably have a collection agency as it relates to your mayor's court. So in Newburgh Heights, we have a mayor's court as well. And if you get a speeding ticket on, let's say 480, it's what, 480, right? Okay. So you've got a Lindale-sized version of 480.
We try not to go up there.
So if you get a speeding ticket on Broadway, not from a camera, but from a police officer, and you're doing 55, for example, you have to come in front of a magistrate or your mayor, I don't know who does your mayor's court, and he's going to say, or she's going to say, okay, you've got, how do you plead? Guilty, no contest, or not guilty? You plead not guilty, you go to Garfield and you pay a lot of money. You plead no contest, you're probably found guilty. And then the judge says, or the magistrate says, okay, well you have $96 in court costs, plus a $75 fine, and now you've got 2 points on your license. And then you decide, well, I'm not paying them. So a year goes by, a warrant block goes on your license, and more than likely, you also have a collection agency that works for the collection of your traffic citations here in Maple Heights. We have one, most communities have one, I don't know if Maple does, but maybe I shouldn't suggest that, but I might have one now.
No, I can't really speak to that because obviously it's not something that the police department is involved in. What I can tell you is that at the original presentation from OptiTraffic, what they presented to us was that, as the mayor said, we could go use our own collection agency to collect these debts.
You're aware, obviously. Sorry.
Or OptiTraffic itself will provide a collection agency to us at a cost of 50% or 15% of the citation of the amount that was owed, in addition to what the fee was or the liability would be. Okay, so that's how that would be handled.
Thank you. Next question, one of my lovely residents.
I have 2 questions. I have seen 2 different citations. One came from Maple Heights, one came from this company. Who do you answer? Who do you send your answer back to?
Are you aware of multiple citations, some coming from the city possibly? I never understood that to be happening.
No, on the citation is issued by the company OptiTraffic. It'll say City of Maple Heights Notice of Liability, and then at the bottom of it, there's a address that you would mail that payment into or that citation into, or you could mail in your request for a hearing. I'm not aware of what you're talking about. If you have it, I'll be happy to look at it. Okay, yeah, but I mean, the only citation that you...
It was like they were the same thing, only one had the address from the company, and the other one had the address from Maple Heights.
One had the address from the company, one had the address from Maple Heights. If you make I'll give you my card at the end of this presentation. If you want to call me and we'll make arrangements that you bring that in so I can take a look at it, perhaps I can answer your question that way. I'm not aware that there should be anything coming from that other than the address. Well, it says City of Maple Heights, Cleveland, Ohio for the address, and that's where that payment would need to be paid. That's where it goes. It's in the bottom right-hand corner of the front page of the citation.
Okay.
And your second question?
Was our mayor invited to this meeting, and if so, where is he?
What meeting?
Our mayor, was he invited to this meeting?
Oh, everyone was made aware that there was a meeting tonight, yes.
Just want to thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hendricks. Yes,
My
ma'am.
name is Carolyn Irby. I live on Highland Drive. And as a resident of Maple Heights, I'm offended for the fact that you all didn't think this camera through and think about us. You put it through, now you apologize and want us to pass it. But why didn't you think of us before you did this?
That is a very good question. Something that came up after the fact. This was considered at 3 special meetings, and at the special meetings, there was no opportunity for public comments. It has been the decision of the council president to not permit comments at special meetings. And at the time, I didn't realize that it had been at 3 special meetings. In fact, the last reading was supposed to be at a public meeting, at a regular meeting, where there would have been public comments. So, yeah, that was a failure. That, as I see it personally, that was a failure on the part of the city to not even provide an opportunity for public comments at an open meeting. So I wish that I wish I could go back, I wish we all could go back knowing what we know now and do this over again. But what I will say that some people are surprised at is I'm glad that a petition was circulated. I'm glad that residents finally said, hey, I want to have a say in I want to have a direct say in what's happening, and I'm not just going to let this pass me by. Because that is a good sign for our community. Frankly, traffic cameras, I'd like to keep them. Am I going to lose sleep at night or cry on my wife's shoulder because they go away? Not at all. I'm glad to see that people have come to this meeting, that people circulated a petition, went through the effort, and have successfully done so. So I wish we could go back and have a do-over, but we simply can't. And I think that you have every right to feel as you do.
But I've always felt that way, and I've always wanted to be involved, but we have not had the opportunity to. So this is what I'm saying. Each time it just gets bigger and bigger, and we should be involved. We're the residents. We live here. We pay the taxes.
Just
Very quick.
yeah.
I can't speak to your specific concerns through as it relates, but I think if you talk to most police officers regarding speeding violations, I think that this is a much safer mechanism for issuing a citation. Newburgh Heights has had 2 police officers in the last 10 years hit issuing speeding citations, because now you've got an officer on the side of the road, outside of the car, standing next to the car, and I understand that's his job. But I think that there are other things these police officers can be doing. Newburgh Heights is challenged with a fairly transient criminal element that travels through the community. I'd rather have my officers traveling up and down my side streets than sitting on Harvard Avenue issuing speeding citations, putting their lives at risk simply because they're outside of the car with a distracted motorist driving by on a cell phone, talking on the other line, whatever it might be. So your concern is absolutely valid. I don't know what occurred here, but there are a lot of very valid reasons that I think most police officers would agree these are an excellent tool for their department.
And I understand that, and I go along with that, with the policemen, but your city, Newburgh Heights, did the right thing, and they let the people know. So, and I understand about the safety of the policemen. I would want them to be safe, but you did the right thing. and Maple Heights didn't.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much for your comments. I appreciate it. I guess we can allow Councilman Alex Adams to make a comment. Go ahead,
Councilman
sir.
Alex Adams, District 1, Maple Heights. I have to say something, Bill, and the reason being is, when this legislation came up, we also had other very, very important legislation that this public ought to know about. And as for advertising, I have it on my Facebook. Bill has it on his site. It was in the neighborhood news. I can go back and get the back copies of the neighborhood news, and it was published. We have a very serious problem in Maple Heights due to the state cuts, the county cuts, devaluation of your houses and mine, which I have lower property tax, which means lower revenue for the city. Simple. That's where we're at. We lost the internet cafes, the business tax is down, license tax, gasoline tax, everything is down.
Yeah, we have some very serious issues financially in our city, and we were busy with those in July. You
I
are
can
right.
bring that, if I knew you was gonna talk about that, I would have brought it to you. I'd have showed you the legislation that we was dealing with. And I grant you this is very important, but when we was discussing the physical watch, emergency, and going through the appropriations, the budget was time consuming. And we didn't get that on a good notice. We was getting the information as is, and we had to deal with it. Because that's the number one important thing for all these residents.
Thank you, Alex.
Physical watch, have a minute.
No, Alex, please. I think we have a few more comments. We only have a couple minutes left.
Defense. Constant. We had other issues. That's what we've taken care of. I apologize. Our meetings are the 1st and 3rd of every month. 1st and 3rd of every month. Special meetings are posted by ordinance. Remember that, 1st and 3rd of each month. As I look around, I want to see who is interested in the city. 1st and 3rd months is our...
Thank you. 1st and 3rd months, we have our regular council meetings, and the hope is that every piece of legislation will be heard at a public meeting where there's opportunity for public comments. Mr. Peterson, I think you were waiting.
Thank you. I'd like to correct a couple things that Mr. Brownlee said. He mentioned that I was the one on the petitions. There were 4 individuals who were on there. We're in charge of that. All 4 of them are here tonight. Leroy Peterson's not one of those. I'm not sure where you got your information. Probably the same one you had your secret meeting. But the second thing I would like to say on this, I wonder if council is familiar with Ohio Revised Code 149.43. Basically what it refers to is the Sunshine Law. Sunshine Law is very, very clear. Basically, only one area the council can go into secret meetings without you and I representing.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. We're not talking about secret meetings, we're talking about special meetings. But please, we're going to talk about the traffic cameras. We will discuss...
The citizens want to be involved in...
We will discuss those other problems as well. I don't think you appreciated how Mr. Adams stole the meeting either. So, do we have any other comments about the traffic cameras themselves? Any other comments, questions? It doesn't have to be a question, it can be a comment.
My name is Janice Keel. Like the mayor from Newburgh Heights said that they take the money that you guys would get from the traffic tickets area. How will Maple Heights profit by this? That would be my question. Like he said, they did different things. You know, if we do keep this, you know, I mean, how are we going to bring Maple Heights? back to where we want to bring it back? Is this going to help the city?
As of right now, this money is planned to go into the general fund, but not to be earmarked as it is in Newburgh Heights. It is planned to be spent on general expenses. That was one thing that came up during the consideration of this, is a council member introduced an amendment to have it go into a particular fund for particular purposes, but that was turned down by the council. As of right now, it's going to be used for operating expenses at the discretion of council, but it is something that you have to be careful with, as Mayor Elkins said, because it's not something you would consider reliable revenue, because something could happen to it. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Any other comments or questions? We have time for 2 more.
Gentlemen, my name is Andy Ochivar. I have a business in Maple Heights since 1949. I'm one of the oldest businessmen in this area, and I'm sure I can say for most everybody here, I'm really ashamed at the council for doing things the way they do things. We are, sometimes we hear things, it's too late. There's nothing we can do. All of a sudden you got laws and you got everything else. Now you're gonna get money. I got 2 tickets. Okay. My daughter got 2 tickets for going, I said 1 mile an hour, and they said 11 miles an hour. That's shameful. That's shameful. When you're going that slow, you're going 35 miles an hour. Our cars ain't built to go 35 miles an hour. You got to use the brakes. But I know you're going to get this money. Now, most of us are not going to say nothing. But I'll bet you $1 to a donut that within a year, some of you people are going to get raises. And we need money for a lot of things. We need more policemen. You're getting rid of our fire department. Them guys work their butts off. Okay, I'm just speaking my say. There's nothing I can do. I paid it off. I'm guilty. Going 37 miles an hour. Shame on you.
Yes. Is there one more comment? I thought I saw one person. Is there anyone else who hasn't made a comment yet who would like to make one or last comment? Just so you know, we are going over time, and the library is waiting.
I just want to say, next time you all decide to make decisions about these serious things, I think the constituents should be notified. And the biggest portion of the people that live in Maple Heights are seniors, and I can sympathize with him because I only get a check once a month. So we need to be considered as constituents in Maple Heights.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your concerns. The last thing I wanted to do was share something that was a little lighter in nature. That this is the gentleman who made the very interesting comments. He's a business owner on Broadway, and here's what he had to say concerning the comments. I hope it's loud enough for you. What are your preliminary thoughts on the traffic cameras?
Yeah, first I think that it's kind of, I'm not really sure what they do exactly, whether it's a survey thing or whether they're actually collecting speed or handing out citations. People slow down. People are kind of weary of like a big apparatus on the side of the street. So I think it definitely works as far as curbing the speed on the street and stuff like that. And it's effective, it works. Whether they work or not, people don't know if they work or not. Maybe they're just there, that wasn't same thing. It's kind of like people,
So, that was good. So, the cameras are out here in front, pretty much in front of your business. Do you anticipate any kind of effect on your business, the way that it runs?
Not at all. I feel like it's making things more safe. People slow down more, they're looking at things more. So,
You have a very interesting perspective on it. And in closing, I wanted to refer you to the back side of that handout that I gave you. There are places where you can find out more information regarding what is happening with the traffic program. You can go to Maple Heights News. There are both the ordinance and the contract are listed there. OptiTraffic has information, of course, about how their program works. And COAST is the Coalition Against Additional Spending and Taxes. That was the organization that worked with the group of residents who circulated the petition. So if you want to find out more for why COAST is against some types of these programs, then you can check out their website as well. Again, thank you all for coming and for being informed and concerned, and may God bless you, and may God bless Maple Heights.